The majority of people spend their Monday through Fridays waking up to a blaring alarm, commuting a ridiculous distance to work, obeying a boss for 8 hours, and then commuting back home, leaving them with just enough time to eat and watch a Netflix show. Sadly, the majority of people are destined to continue living this mundane lifestyle for the next 40 years, trapped in a never-ending cycle of working to pay their bills and, in the end, make their employers richer than they already are. Awful, isn't it? There is, thankfully, a way out of this rat race, if you know the best course of action. So, let's get into why it's so hard to get out of the rat race and how you can actually do it. Let me begin by asking you a question. When was the most recent time you saw a person who truly enjoyed their work? No, I am not implying that they accept it. I am referring to someone who can't wait to get to work every day. According to the statistics, it is extremely uncommon to meet someone who feels like this. According to recent Gallup polls, roughly half of workers are only somewhat satisfied with their jobs. This indicates that millions of people are going about their daily lives, hoping that one day they will be able to get away from the rat race and experience the freedom they have always desired. However, as you are about to see, it is easier said than done to achieve the goal of escaping the rat race. In point of fact, how many people do you know who have been successful in accomplishing this feat? You probably only know people who are at least twice your age, and I would guess that you make up about half of the workforce and have no plans to stay at your current job forever. Because of this, achieving financial independence should be a top financial goal for anyone who does not want to remain an employee for the rest of their lives. This indicates that you are constantly striving to accumulate sufficient assets to cover all of your living costs and enable you to never again rely on a paycheck. Simply picture it for a moment. You get up when your body is completely rested, not when your alarm goes off. You get to sit down with a cup of warm coffee, unwind, and read a book instead of driving to work. After that, you can exercise and spend time with your family without worrying about work. That would be fantastic, isn't it? However, despite the fact that this is a way of life that is worthy of pursuit, escaping the rat race has never been more difficult. However, you will significantly increase your chances of escaping the rat race in much less time than you ever thought possible if you comprehend the obstacles in your way, which I will explain to you now. Now, you might think that the challenges you would face in your quest to escape the rat race would start as soon as you started your career, but the problems actually started many years earlier when you were growing up. Unfortunately, the majority of people have received very little financial education growing up, which prevents them from comprehending the fundamentals of wealth creation, such as budgeting, saving, earning income, and investing. In reality, it will be extremely difficult to win the game if you do not even know the rules. The best thing that can happen is for people with this lack of knowledge to seek advice, but unfortunately, this only leads them further down the path to financial mediocrity and a life of servitude. What does this mean? I'm referring to the likelihood that you will enroll in college and hope that the degree you earn will lead to a job that will improve your financial situation. This is the path that the majority of people take. You may earn a degree, but if you are like 55% of college graduates, you will also leave school with an average balance of $28,950 in student debt, which will take the average graduate 20 years to repay. This indicates that you are beginning your quest for financial independence in a bad situation, but at least you have a job that can help you get out of it. Right? Yes and no. Then, the good news is that most college graduates land a job after graduation. but that doesn't necessarily mean they'll be rich right away. When entering the workforce, the typical college graduate now earns approximately $55,000, according to recent reports. You might think that this is a lot of money that you could use to start paying off your student loans and get your financial freedom back, but if you look a little more closely, you see that this is not the case. A monthly salary of $5,000 leaves you with about $3,500 after taxes. You wouldn't be able to pay off even a couple $100s off that debt balance each month if you took into account the costs of housing, transportation, food, and entertainment. Consequently, the typical individual requires 20 years to pay off their student loans. I know what you're rethinking. Well, you want to be making $55,000 forever, and I hope that's the case. However, if your employer is like the majority of others, your raises probably won't be the financial lifeline you expected. For instance, the average annual raise this year was 4.8%. This indicates that you would increase your annual income from $55,000 to just under $58,000. Even though every dollar helps, it won't really help when it comes to getting out of the rat race permanently. Sadly, most people never realize that their 9-to-5 jobs provide little support for their ultimate goal of becoming financially independent unless they receive the financial education mentioned earlier. In order to keep you, the majority of employers pay you as little as possible. In a nutshell, your objective of financial independence and their objective of maximizing profits are in direct opposition to one another. As a recap, it goes without saying that if you follow the typical life path, escaping the working world is quite the uphill battle. This is due to the fact that you do not have any guidance regarding the most effective path to reaching financial freedom, the outrageous costs of college, and the embarrassing raises that employers now offer. Unfortunately, things only get worse from here on out. You see, the majority of us end up consuming during the time we have between work days. Unfortunately, our financial problems get worse as a result of our use of social media, movies, and television. Not only does this waste time that could be used to improve our financial situation, but it also has real financial repercussions. I know that whenever I visit Instagram and see pictures of my friends' vacations, I get the desire to travel. I am aware that for some, witnessing people marrying makes them feel compelled to keep up. Do you know what ties all of these things together? You guessed it, all of them make us spend money we don't have, money we should be using to buy our freedom in the future. Now, it's easier to say than to do this. When you re-saving every penny you can to get out of the rat race, it's hard to imagine your friends having the time of their lives and living a luxurious life. But if you can avoid the temptations of television and social media, you should be fine, right? Even though this is a good start, you want to be able to completely eliminate all external factors that will stymie your quest for financial independence. Inflation is the primary financial phenomenon that prevents the majority of people from accumulating the funds they require to escape the rat race. When inflation is high, the prices of the things you buy every day skyrocket, taking away any financial benefits you might have received from promotions and raises at work. Therefore, in your quest to escape the rat race, there will always be a foe you are trying to defeat, whether you are the one preventing you from saving money or the economy. This brings us to the conclusion that the majority of people have realized this once they have spent some time working and have seen how all of these pieces fit together, particularly in relation to becoming financially independent. After working for a few years, most people realize that their 9-to-5 job isn't going to cut it. Because of this, approximately 93% of Americans now have a side job that they use to pay their bills or advance in their savings efforts. If that isn't a sign of how pointless it is for people to work for money, I don't know what is. If you want to get out of the rat race, you should probably work more. But this is where things get a little tricky. It is simple to take on a part-time job for Uber or request overtime when you are young and have few responsibilities. However, as you get older, your time becomes more limited. You suddenly have a partner to spend time with and kids to look after, assuming your job doesn't last longer than 8 hours. In fact, this shackling to your day-to-day responsibilities is what kills people who want to get away from their 9-to-5 jobs, and is why most people will work until they die. Fortunately for you, there is a way out, and if you ask me, it is the only way to get away from the rat race and live a well-balanced life. Money is important, but it is not everything. First and foremost, you must devise a 9-to-5 escape strategy. When you want to escape, how much you need to save and invest, and even how to get there are all going to be included in this escape plan. We must begin by determining how much money you require to escape or retire. Because this amount is entirely dependent on how much it costs you to live, you need to become less dependent on income in order to speed up this process as much as possible. This means reducing your living space, cutting back on entertainment, and being careful with your transportation budget. Since these are the most expensive expenses that most people have, they will give you the most value for your money and allow you to naturally save more money. It's time to figure out your escape figure once you know how much you can comfortably survive on. Because you don't want to ever have to go back to your job, I recommend having 30 times your annual living costs just to be safe. For instance, in order to retire, you would require $1.02 million if you could survive on $40,000 per year. The next step is to decide how long you will put aside to save this amount of money. Given that you probably already don't like your job, I would guess that you want this time frame to be as short as possible. In general, the longer you have, the lower your contributions to your investments will be. Let's say, for the sake of our illustration, that you have not yet saved any money and want to get away in 15 years. This indicates that you would need to put in $4,000 per month, assuming a return of 7% on average. Now, it's clear that you want to be able to contribute this month solely from your 9-to-5 job. This is where the final piece of the puzzle comes in. We've already said that your life wants to be entirely devoted to making money. Because of this, you need to start using the money you save by cutting back on expenses and working extra hours to buy assets that will pay you when you have less time. A blog, a rental property, a digital product, and the list goes on, for instance, could provide $4,000 for investment. This will take some time to get going, but if you don't find a way to passively earn the money you need, eventually you won't have time to work more hours. This is the trap that most people fall into and end up stuck in the rat race for the rest of their lives. Therefore, if you really want to get out of the rat race, don't make the mistakes I just mentioned. Cut down on your expenses and put every extra dollar you have into your escape fund. Soon you will be saying goodbye to your cubicle. Okay, this was till here. Subscribe our channel, press the bell icon. We will soon meet in new video. Till then, bye bye.